Well, welcome everyone. I am Beth Sennett, and now I am your president of the Chicago Flute Club. And we have shifted roles among our board. And I just wanted to take a moment at our first event to say welcome to the season. And it's a particularly special welcome for me because we have Sharon Sparrow, who's a very dear friend of mine from the Detroit Symphony and all my years in Detroit and so delighted that she could join us on the Fluting with the Stars series this year. We are thrilled to have her here and her expertise. And then it's also my final thing is to my great pleasure to introduce you to our new program chair. And her name is Gianna Capobianco. Many may have known her as dealing with membership chair services in the past. So she has shifted over to program, and I'm going to turn the event over to Gianna now.
Thank you so much, Beth. We are so grateful for your wisdom and expertise while leading the Chicago Flute Club. Again, my name is Gianna Capobianco, and I'm the program chair for the Chicago Flute Club. And it's always a welcome. It's always an honor to be able to welcome you all to this program. So thank you so much. Just a couple little things. If you're not on our mailing list, make sure you sign up for our emails just to keep you updated with all the wonderful things the club is doing. We also have a lot of resources for our members, including recordings of all of our series events, including the last several years of events, our pipeline magazines, the flute rental program, lots of fun stuff. Make sure that you register for our next Fluting with the Stars event on October 12th in person at the Flute Center Chicago. Hadar Neuberg is our guest for the event, and she will be presenting a recital and masterclass. Additionally, our student recital is coming up, and that will take place on November 17th, and all of that information is on our website. We will drop the link in the chat. Before we continue with today's program, just a couple little housekeeping things. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box at the bottom of your screen. I'll be monitoring them, and then we will ask questions as appropriate. And we also recommend that you always stay on speaker view for this event, just so you can see the presenters on their full screen. Please remain on mute at all times. If you have any issues or problems, again, write them in the chat and we'll do our best to help you out. And then we'd love to hear where you're zooming in from. So if you could just, say in the chat where you're from, that'd be super fun. And then this is an interactive class, and we would love to see your beautiful faces. So if you guys could turn on your screens so we can make it, more of kind of a personal environment, that would be great. We've got two performers for this class. First up, we have Anne Marie Ellison. She's a senior at Naperville North High School, where she studies with the amazing Dr. Kate Hummel. Anne Marie plays with Elgin Youth Symphony, the Marching Huskies, and the AP Band at Naperville North. Anne Marie has been in the ILMEA All-Star Honors Band and has attended Interlochen Summer Flute Intensive, and then she'll be playing excerpts from the Chaminade. And then our other performer is Yuyen Yang, and she is a native of China. She is a first-year DMA student at U of I, where she studies with Jonathan Keeble. She did her master's there as well. She has been recognized with many awards, including first prize with the 2014 China Flute Association Youth Competition and second prize in the Nanning International Flute Competition. And then, and she will be playing excerpts of Mozart in G, Brahms 4, and Beethoven's Leonore. And without further ado, I would love to welcome the amazing Sharon Sparrow. Sharon is yes, applaud. She's amazing, applaud. She is an in-demand performer, author, and educator. She serves as tenured assistant principal with the Detroit Symphony and is the instructor of flute at Wayne State University. Sharon travels extensively, giving presentations on her book, 6 Weeks to Finals, The Complete Guide to Audition Success, and this was the winner of this was the 2016 winner of the NFA Best New Publications Award. She has published 2 volumes of Telemann for Two, a flute duet book based on the solo fantasies by Telemann, alongside her colleague Jeff Zook, who is here in the event. So thank you for coming. And then Sharon, we are so thrilled to have you share your extensive knowledge and wisdom with the CFC. And thank you so much for opening our season. And I'm putting links to her website in the chat and also to her book. Take it away, Sharon. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome, Chicago Flute Club. It's really great to be here. I'm so excited to see so many of you here this afternoon. I want to thank Beth and Gianna so much for inviting me to open this fantastic series. So, hello Jeffrey Zook. Very nice to see you. I'm so happy to see you here. Okay, now, it's my great desire to not run way over today, but I have a lot of so many things to share with you. So I'm going to try to keep things rolling. And first I have a question. So by show of 2 thumbs up, I always do this, how many of you out there, or you can do it on the, I guess there's the react button too if you have your cameras off. How many of you out there have an audition or a performance or a competition coming up in the next few months? Ooh, quite a few of you. All right, excellent. So you've come to the right place. And I'm really hoping that by the time you leave here, which will be in about 90 minutes, you'll have some new tools in your toolbox and have polished up and sharpened the ones already in there. Because honestly, I have to say the best feeling ever is when you feel completely prepared when you hit the stage. And that's what I want to empower you with. So I'm also thrilled to soon work with our 2 participants this afternoon, Anne-Marie and Uyen. Welcome. It's going to be about 20 minutes before I get to you, so honestly, you guys have a seat and relax, and I'll give you a little warning before it's time to play. But we're all really excited to hear you, and I'm super excited to work with you. All right, first I'd like to introduce you all to what I call my system for success, which kind of debunks the theory of the old saying, which you may have seen in my promo video, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? And the answer is, you know, practice, practice, practice. Well, I wish I could tell you that you did not have to practice. But practicing, and in a very specific and detailed way, is truly one of the 3 key ingredients that you're going to need. But just like a triathlon, which requires 3 equal skills of running and biking and swimming, a successful audition requires 3 equal skills of its own. And this is going to be my first attempt to share my screen with you. Can y'all see that? Yay! All right. So 3 equal skills of its own, which are, of course, running, biking, swimming. But for an audition, you're going to need 3 things too. And that is practicing, for sure. But you're also going to need mental training and event training. You truly can't ignore any of these 3. Just like if you were in a triathlon, let's say you got to the day of the triathlon and you're like, oh, I don't know how to swim. Wait, I've never tried swimming. Or, oh, I don't own a bike. It's not a marathon. So an audition, you need all 3. And the first one is the one that we're most familiar with. So let's see. Let's take a moment and see what all of those look like. So we'll start with the one everyone's most familiar with, which is practicing. You probably got this one down, or actually you probably think you have this one down, because ever since you first picked up your flute, think back to that moment. How exciting was that? What do you most remember being told by your teacher and by your parents? You know it. It's on Zoom, it's so quiet here, but I can actually hear you all saying this. You're all saying, go practice. You have to practice. How much did you practice? All about practicing. So we were good. We all learned our skills. We learned our etudes. We learned how to breathe, how to articulate, all those great elements that definitely go into flute playing. That's great. But now, today, we're going to talk about how do you practice, which I also call train, for an audition or for an event. And it's a little bit different than the practicing that you may have always grown up with. I've narrowed this down to 3 key elements that are forefront in any committee's mind when they're listening to you. It's in their minds and in their ears. And these 3 key elements are what I call the in siblings. So let's take a look at these in siblings. Let's see if I can get this right. Can you see them? Do you see the in siblings? Okay, there they are. You have to become best friends with all 3 of these. They are in time, in tune, and intent. So if you do become best friends with all of the in siblings, you definitely are on your way to a very successful audition. All right, I think it's time to get to know them a little bit because they're very important. So first, let's meet in time. Okay. Y'all have no idea how hard this whole slide sharing thing is for me. But I am getting better and better at it, and it's so fun to make the slides and actually to follow along with the slides. So the first one we're going to meet is in time. Very important. So you're going to need some things for your toolbox, and you're going to need a metronome. The metronome I have here in this picture is the Matrix metronome. It's my favorite one for 2 reasons. Number one, it is the loudest woodblock sound that you've ever heard. It's so loud. I hate the metronomes that have the meep, high-pitched sound, and because actually when you're playing the flute, that meep gets lost. So this one has like a really, really substantial woodblock sound. And the other reason I like the Matrix is because it has the dial. So you don't have to punch in numbers. You can slide your thumb on that dial, and you're going to need that when we do some demos later. You will see how that works. So that's really important. I really don't think it's great to use the app on your phone for this, although many people do, but it's kind of impossible to collect the data that you need with the app on your phone. But we're gonna show you all this a little bit later. So the other thing you're gonna need is a recording device that has audible playback. So your phone's gonna be in use for something else. This audible device, I've got one right here, looks like a phone, but it's not a phone. It's actually a musical mirror. And I would like to show you the musical mirror because everybody's so afraid of this thing. And there's no reason to be afraid of it. That is the musical mirror. The musical mirror is for evaluation, and it's by far the most important tool in your toolbox. You need it for all of the ins. But the musical mirror is not there to tell you who's the fairest one of all. It's just a box that's going to collect for you invaluable data, and it spits it back out at you. How many of you are afraid of recording yourself? It's a very vulnerable thing to do. But the thing is that musical box, it has no power over you. It's not judging you, and it's truly worth its price in gold. So you have to know how to use it. You have to not be afraid of it, and you have to don't think it has any judgment over you. So, see the guy in the slide also who's using the mirror to find out if anything's stuck in his teeth? That's going to be you. You're just using it to check on your musical teeth. It's your musical mirror. So for my musical mirror, I oftentimes use my phone. I'll use the voice memo app. I have an iPhone. It has great voice memo app. I use that a lot of times because it's collecting data. I'm not using it to make a huge recording. And then I also use GarageBand on my computer a lot too, because that's super easy. I have it all set up to record. And I just discovered a new app called Amadeus Lite, which is a really super fancy musical mirror app for your computer. So you might want to like check that out and just see what's up with that. It's really fancy and it's quite fun. Okay, now we've met in time. Now we have to meet in tune, because great intonation is super important for any audition and any competition. Maybe my colleague Jeff remembers this story, but I'm going to tell you a quick story. So I was once sitting on an audition committee with all my colleagues at the DSO, and after about the 45th candidate had played a prelim behind the screen on our stage, I noticed this one colleague's face getting all red and puffy, like he was about to explode. And as soon as we heard the door shut, we heard that click signifying that the candidate had left the stage. He exploded with these 4 words, which I will never forget. He screamed at the top of his lungs, "Intonation is not optional!" Oh, I will never forget that moment. So please do not leave this in to chance. So there are some tools for this for your toolbox as well. So for this, of course, a tuner is really necessary. And I also don't recommend the phone app for this either, because you're probably going to be using your phone, most likely as a musical mirror with playback. So it can't do both at the same time. I'm also a huge fan of a drone pitch, and a lot of these tuners, like the Silver Korg here, has a pitch. And then you can put the pitch on and you can use that to check intervals, like octaves and fifths and thirds and all that. So you can create a tonic note and just judge the intonation of the other notes around it. So I own both of these tuners, and I love having something external, not just the one in my phone. So yeah, if y'all have any questions, like Gianna and Beth are gonna have to monitor the chat, because I cannot multitask that and my slides at the same time. So just, if there are questions, please.
Hey Sharon.
Yes.
One quick question. Can you give us the name of that Amadeus?
Yeah, it's called Amadeus Lite, and I think you put it in the chat exactly as it's spelled. And it's at the App Store, and it's $24.99. It's actually a paid app, and it's a great recording tool. And on it, you can just do little clips, you can do loops, you can slow down what you recorded to 50% and hear it back. It's really both brilliant and horrifying at the same time, I have found working with it. But it is the mirror of all mirrors when you're listening back to yourself. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, so there you have it. So believe it or not, those are the 2 easy ins. And the most complicated in is the third sibling, which is intent. And this in covers a whole umbrella of musical things. And this is where I'll just show you, I have it. So I'll show you a picture of my intent umbrella. So all those things exist under intent: dynamics, phrasing, style, articulation, vibrato for flutists. Very, very important. Let's see what else is on here. History, the composer, the context. What context is the piece or the excerpt in that you're going to play? These all fall under the great umbrella of intent. So this is a complicated sibling. I know we all have one. So this is the most complex and complicated sibling, and it takes a little bit more time and care to understand it. So these are your three in siblings. Does anyone have any questions about the in family before we put all these ins together in a way to practice?
What was the word print? You said print on the last slide.
Excellent question, Jeffrey. So print is actually the music on the page. I actually had to ask my students this week when they were playing, I was like, do you have invisible ink in your music there? Because my part says has a hairpin. I heard no hairpin. My part says diminuendo. I didn't hear any diminuendo. So the print, actually what is on the page, is so important to convey. And a lot of times, I don't know, we just don't see it, or else we see it and we think we're doing it. But print is one of it falls under the in umbrella, and it's very, very important. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, any other questions? All right, so now I'm going to show you a recipe for great practicing preparation in 10 steps. And we'll start with the first 5. Okay. And each one, I may stop and just explain a little bit what I'm talking about. So one is create a useful warm-up. Okay, everybody warms up, right? I mean, I think as flutists, we're taught to do our warm-ups. What's a useful warm-up? So a useful warm-up is when you're in training for something, whether it's a concert or a piece that's coming up or an audition. So what I do is I create what I call the useful warm-up using elements from that piece. So let's say my audition has the opening of Leonore Overture No. 3. We all know that's challenging to play that high G and do the diminuendo to piano and then creep down that scale in tune. Very challenging. So I'm going to create a warm-up that addresses that. But I'm not going to just use G. I'm going to use high A flat. I'm going to use high A. I'm going to transpose it. I'm going to twist it around. And I actually write all these out on staff paper, and I create my own warm-up that's going to address all the issues that are on my current plate. And I'm going to use that for a warm-up. Instead of my normal long tones, moyes, I'm going to be a little bit more creative and make a warm-up that attacks what I'm working on. So that's fun to do and extremely useful. Number 2, create a naughty list, which Anne-Marie is soon going to demonstrate for us soon with that Chaminade Concertino. So we'll leave that thought for now, but I love the naughty list. My students love the naughty list. People taking auditions love the naughty list. It's a great tool. So now that I've created a useful warm-up, I've created my naughty list, what I'm going to do next is divide up your piece into small sections. And you can use measure numbers, or if you have a bunch of excerpts, you're doing an audition for orchestra. So you're just going to put one at a time on an index card. So, and then you're going to take then you're going to count them up. So let's say, just for example, we have 18 index cards. And if you're doing a piece, let's say your index card would say measure 1 to 9, or measure 117 to 144. And be kind of like thoughtful about how you do the sections of the cards. So you have now 18 cards. your next step is to count the number of total cards you have and then divide it by 6. And next, what you're gonna do, you're gonna shuffle all of those 18 cards, and then you're gonna draw the number of cards from number 4 above. So let's see who's paying attention. We had 18 cards. How many cards did we just draw? 3. Divide by 6. Yes. So we're going to shuffle and draw 6 cards from above. So now we have 6 cards. Okay, are you ready for the next 5 steps? Okay, that's on the next slide. So thoughtful practicing. Oh, that's the wrong slide, sorry. This one. Okay, so on 6, what you're gonna do is, remember you just drew 3 cards, so you're gonna put the music that corresponds to those cards drawn up on your stand in an order. Then number 7, you're gonna set up your recording device, your musical mirror, and you're gonna begin a recording mock of every card you just drew. And you can do one at a time or you can do it all at once, but it usually works best if you just do the recording all at once. So you've just had your first mock of the day by playing everything that is up there to work on. So after that, I like step 8, take a little break. Because think about what you've done so far. You've warmed up. That's pretty extensive if you did a nice useful one. You tackled your naughty list. That's pretty extensive depending where you are on your training. And then you've mocked 1/6 of your entire piece or of your whole audition. So you deserve a little break. So once you've done that, you're gonna set up all of your in tools and you're gonna get ready for some true evaluation and actually true progress. So next, what you're gonna do is you're gonna play back on your recording device each card drawn. So these are small sections at a time, and you're only gonna evaluate one in at a time. So you're actually gonna play it back 3 times in time. Evaluate, in tune, evaluate, work, intent, evaluate, do some work. So you evaluate using the tools we all talked about that's in your toolbox. You're gonna mark your music. You're gonna strategize ways to improve on that in. And you're gonna repeat it for all 3 ins. Then you move to the next card's playback and you do the same thing over again. So this actually is real practicing. This is real training, and you will make real progress. Because when you isolate the ins, then you're really able to hear. You're really able to tell. It's when we play back and we listen to everything at once, we just start saying, okay, that sounded good. Oh, well, that sounded a little off. And you don't know specifically what you were doing. This system teaches you to listen isolated and really specific with your tools. And by the end of a practice session, you will feel so good because you've made real progress. So there you have it. That is the recipe I have. Did I lose any of you on any of that? Are there any questions here on my practicing plan? And please just unmute and ask a question like Jeffrey did, because that's the best way for me to.
Are you going to illustrate the plan?
Yes, with you, Jan is going to help us demonstrate all the ins coming up. So yes, that's gonna help a lot. So, but first, we are going to have Anne-Marie get ready to play, and she's going to demonstrate the naughty list using this Chaminade concertino. So, welcome, Anne-Marie. while she's getting ready to play, how many out there have played this piece, Chaminade's Concertino? It's so beloved, honestly. How many of you want to play this piece in your future? This was actually one of the very first pieces that I really, really wanted to play as a young flutist, because I heard my teacher play it, and I was in 8th grade and she was a senior in high school, and I absolutely fell in love with this piece. But she totally would not let me play it. She said first I had to learn all of my scales and all of my arpeggios and prove that I could play them all by memory, and then I could play that piece. And I was so mad at her. But now, of course, that I'm much older and experienced, I see that she had a lot of wisdom for a high school flute teacher. So
I'm going to interrupt Sharon. Anne-Marie, I think you need to unmute before you begin. Thank you.
So what Anne-Marie's gonna help demonstrate for all of us is what a naughty list is. And what it is pulling out all of the little gremlins, I call them. The little nasty parts, the parts that are really difficult, the parts that will probably have a tendency to snag you up in a performance, the parts that take a lot longer to smooth out than the easier parts of the piece. And what I do for a naughty list is I excerpt them out. I actually Xerox the music, I cut them out, and then I paste them onto a completely separate piece of paper. And then I give every gremlin its own little number, and then I assign each number 2 to 3 minutes of time every single day. And I do, thank you so much, Anne-Marie, because they're like, what are you talking about? And you are gonna show us. And then I do what I call a scramble on every single number until the timer goes off. And then I move to the next gremlin. And I do this every day until my gremlin, all of my gremlins, but it takes some time, until all of my gremlins turn into teddy bears. And that's what a naughty list will do. So, Anne-Marie, hello, are y'all set there?
Ready.
Tell us a little bit of, well, actually Gianna told us about you. Tell me why you picked this piece and what you love about this piece.
I mean, it's a very well crafted piece, and it's also just very exciting to play and to listen to. Like, there's just a lot to it, and that's why I love it.
Definitely. Yeah, it's beautiful. There's a lot to this piece. It's absolutely beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna put up, I think I can do this. Oh my gosh, my naughty list is huge. Hold on, it's so big. All right, Anne-Marie, tell me, can you see this on your computer screen? So you can see Chaminade Concertino, and you see all these notes, and you see this naughty list here, correct?
1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay. Right, 1, 2, 3. Oh, it just got bigger, right?
Yeah, well, it zoomed in.
Okay, so we have, actually for this naughty list, for the Chaminade Concertino, there are 15 gremlins. So, Anne-Marie, I would like you to pick a number between 1 and 5, and you and I will demonstrate how this works.
I'll just start with 1.
Start with 1. Okay, so here's what I mean by a scramble. And let's say you and I are going to set the timer for 2 minutes. What we're going to do is we're going to alternate. So this normally would just be one person. But to show you what I mean by scramble, I'm gonna play through this gremlin in a different way. The only rule about scrambling, you guys, is that you're not allowed to play it as is. So you can change rhythms, you can play different groupings. There's lots of different things you can do to it, but you just are not allowed to play it as is. So I'll do the first example, then I'll turn it over to you, Anne-Marie, to try an example. Normally there would be a key signature at the beginning of it, and that didn't carry over. So yeah, so it's in the key of D, so just a heads up when you're trying it. All right, now it's your turn. You're gonna try number 1 gremlin, and you're gonna creatively scramble it. Go for it.
Okay.
Fantastic. My turn. Your turn. You're so good at this game. You're so good at this game. So you would need to fill up 2 whole minutes of finding different ways and different patterns, kind of in the order that they're in, to scramble it. And then the timer will go off and you'll be like, great, on to the next gremlin. Does this all make sense, Anne-Marie?
So yeah.
Okay, so now we have 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Go ahead and pick one of those gremlins. Which one?
8.
8. Excellent pick. All right, I'm going to show you an 8 what one of my favorite groupings are when I scramble. Can you repeat that grouping that I just did for practicing?
Let's see.
Oh my gosh, so good, excellent. You played the last 2 beats as is, so you lose. No, just kidding. But that too you want to keep in the grouping. Now, another thing to keep in mind when you're doing this naughty list is that you want to keep as many of the original elements as were already there. For instance, I'm still going to use the same demonstration, but let's see if you can pick up on what I mean. What did I keep?
I kind of want to say it was the accents and like dynamics.
Yeah, the accents and the dynamics. Even though I cracked that middle E, that was a good lesson for me to learn about staying open when I'm going down and trying to accent that E. Now you try it. Excellent. Do you think that those little dots on the notes could be exaggerated a little bit more when you're naughty listing it?
Most certainly.
Yeah, because everything you exaggerate and naughty list is going to jump off the page when it gets back into the piece. Okay, now let me try something else for this one. Your turn. You can't use that one now.
Oh, I cannot.
No. Okay, good. So you actually, once you start getting the hang of this, you become super creative about how to spend those 2 minutes until the timer goes off. Sometimes it seems like the timer goes off really quickly, and sometimes you're like, man, I have another minute and a half to go. What the heck am I going to do with this if I can't play it as written? It really forces you to really look at it and try to be creative with every single gremlin. Okay, so now let's pick one. We've got 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 is the last one in the piece. So pick a number 11 through 15.
Let's do 13.
13. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt, but Anne Marie, can you turn your volume up a little bit? You're a little quiet.
Okay, so let me give you an example and then you can try it. So remember, now we're going to try to keep the dynamic, which I failed to put underneath this one. So when you make your naughty list, make sure your dynamic is visible. You're going to try to bring out the staccatos and the accents, but everything else you can't play as is. And again, this one is in the key of D. I invite you. Excellent. You're definitely getting the hang of this. One thing I would totally encourage you is, because I know you're already trying to scramble your brain, and so it makes it a little bit more difficult to read and that excerpt off the page. So go a little bit slower at first, because there's no rush when you're learning naughty list, so that you don't program in any mistakes. So let's try this. Now, my turn. I like that accent. Your turn.
Okay.
Fantastic! Yay, everybody, please applaud. You are very good at this naughty list game. So what you would do, so Anne-Marie, help us out with a little math here. So I have excerpted out from this Chaminade Concertino 15 gremlins. So every day after you finished warming up, and you know this is a piece that you're going to perform, and is an important piece in your training right now, how many minutes would it take you to spend on a naughty list, this particular naughty list, every day?
If you're spending 3 minutes on each excerpt? 2 minutes? Okay, that'll take 30 minutes.
Is that a long time?
No.
Not at all. And guess what? At the end of those 30 minutes, when these pop back up into the piece when you're playing it, you're going to find that they take on a whole bunch more ease. They're going to feel like teddy bears now and not like gremlins. And especially if you do it every single day, you get so fluid and so good at the hardest parts of it. The biggest challenge in naughty list that I always find is not at the end of my 2 minutes just trying it to see if it got better. I always just want to try it as is. And I always know that's kind of cheating. So I was just like, okay, move on, because I'm going to try it when I play the whole piece through. So, Anne-Marie, you sound beautiful. I want to invite you to play, if you'd like to play for us, because I think we'd all like to hear you, an example of this piece. So if you'd like, you can play the beginning of the piece, I would say, up to that first, I think it's, hold on, let me see where that is in the piece. You're so good at this naughty list game. Okay, so beginning up to 31 for our enjoyment, or if you'd rather play the presto at the end from 136 to the end, we would love to just hear you play for a minute. What would you like to pick?
I'll play the beginning to 31.
Fantastic. I will mute myself. Bravo, bravo. Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. And you know that little section that we kind of naughty listed that for just a minute? You sailed through that section. Fantastic. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Appreciate that. Yay. Okay, we're going to go back to our triathlon. So, if you remember, practicing is only one of 3 skills we're going to need for a successful audition experience. So we're going to take a moment now and talk about the other 2 before we get the demonstration of the ins with some orchestral excerpts. So the next part of the triathlon for auditions is mental training. And mental training is so important. It's truly training your brain for a positive experience. I think many a musician has prepared their fingers and their breathing and all that. But when nerves show up on audition day, or even in the moment, that most people forget to train for that. And therefore, they have a bad experience and sometimes a bad outcome. So we need to go back to Home Depot, because it is Sunday, and there are some tools for your toolbox for this as well. Let me show you. Next slide. Okay. Some people are just like, I don't even know where to start when it comes to this mental training stuff. And I really narrowed it down into 3 pillars, which I call the 3 pillars of mental training. And these 3 pillars are: number 1, positive words and thoughts; number 2, books and journaling; and number 3, meditation and visualization. So let me talk just for a second about each of these. Number 1 is so important: positive words and thoughts. So I wrote some quotes that I may have some people out there who can relate to these, but these are kind of my quotes that sometimes in my past have gone through my head. And here we go. Oh, I suck at this part. So that is not a positive word or a positive thought. But it appears, right? I'm not going to say stop brain, stop thinking that. I'm okay. I will write that thought down. And then what I will do is I'll give that thought a little bit of compassion. And I'll be like, oh, I'm working hard. I'm doing what I can. And then I'm going to use my brain to turn it into a more positive thought. And that is in purple. And so it turns into, this part has so much room to grow. How about, this thought, I will never beat Darcy. She's so much better than me. I bet you've all had that thought, but I bet nobody here knows someone named Darcy. I don't know where I got that name from. But you know the feeling, right? And I'm not saying that you can control that thought, but I'm saying what you can do and you can learn to do, and it's slow at first, but it becomes instantaneous if you train, is that you give that thought some compassion and then you turn it into, you know what, I'm super prepared this time and I'm just ready to present the best of me. And then the third one, I know some of us have had this thought. I hate auditions. I get so nervous. Obviously, that's a valid thought. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give that thought a little bit of compassion, and then I'm going to turn that into, I love the opportunity to get better and to share this beautiful piece with other people. Right, Anne-Marie? My goodness, you had the opportunity to share that beautiful opening with us. But at one point you might have had this thought, oh, I hate doing this because I get so nervous. So this positive words and thoughts is something that we can learn to have good training with, and just train it. Give it compassion. First, write it down. Don't be afraid of it. We all have these kind of negative thoughts. Give it compassion and work on some positive things. And then what happens when you're in the moment, then you trained so much for this that it becomes so quick. Like the thought doesn't debilitate you. The thought is like, yeah, I know you thought. I've given you some compassion. I know how to turn you into positive. So it's a good first start in mental training. The second one is books and journaling. And I am such a big fan. I am really addicted to all my books. I use mostly books by sports people and sports coaches and athletes, and there's so many wonderful books out there. And I've always got one on my table, and I take time every day and I read it, and I have my journal sitting right next to it, so it's not kind of passive reading for me. It's truly active reading. And as I read a quote in it, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're talking to me. They must have written this just for me. And I will write that quote in my journal. And I have so many journals in this condo with all these quotes and all the things that I've learned from books that have to do with mental training and performing. And the third one is meditation and visualization. Let me see what I saw. I forgot to show you. I will show you some things. Stop sharing that. And Gianna has this as well, but I'm just going to show you a quick share of some of my favorite mental training books. And you may recognize some of these. You may look at this whole list and go, I've never heard of any of these. They're all really, really wonderful books. Some of them, like this one, by The Mental Game by James Lohr, I recommended to a student the other day, and then I went and looked it up on Amazon, and it's out of print. So it's $66 to buy a paperback copy of that. So it will probably reprint again one day, but anything by James Lohr is worthwhile. I would highly recommend just getting one of these in your hands and then start making notes and then see if this resonates with you. Okay, so I'm gonna stop that chair, and Gianna can put, I think she has one too, she can even put it in the chat for y'all. Okay, so meditation and visualization. This is a really important tool too. I use this all the time. Meditation is a chance for you to just kind of focus on your breath, just learn to focus in general. We all have to learn better focus when we do performances and take auditions. And visualization is a wonderfully underused tool, which you can just close your eyes and imagine the whole event. And it's just like practicing. It is a form of practicing, actually. Although you don't have your flute in your hand, the beauty of visualizing your event is that you control it. You control every aspect of it. You control what your sound is like. You control seeing your fingers move effortlessly. You can control how your feet feel on the floor. Like, visualization is a really, really wonderful tool. So those are your all important pillars and tools for mental training. And last but not least of the triathlon, and then we're gonna get to this wonderful demonstration of the ins, is event training. So event training, oh my gosh, I cannot tell you how important this is to the triathlon. Event training is literally creating a mock of your event as many times as possible beforehand so that you feel both comfortable and confident when it's time for the real deal. So since I have the slide up, I really can't see everyone in the Zoom, but has anyone out there ever been on a first date? I can see Beth and Gianna. Oh my gosh, how awkward does a first date feel? And in my slide, I put an actual picture of me on a first date. I'm totally kidding. How about when you were given the keys to the car for the very first time and you went on your very first drive all by yourself? Okay, that's not a very comfortable feeling either. And it's not supposed to be. So the first time, unless you event train for your audition or your performance or your competition, it's truly not gonna feel very comfortable at all. I've seen so many people walk out of auditions and go, that just felt so awkward. And I'm thinking, how many times did you mock? They're like, mock? What's that? And I'm like, how is that supposed to feel comfortable? It's not supposed to feel comfortable. So it is your job, honestly, to prepare, if you want to be prepared fully, to create lots of first dates and lots of driving by yourself before the actual real deal. And the more real that you make it to your event, the more comfortable that event is going to feel. And you are so much more likely to have success. But more so than success, you're so much more likely to enjoy the time. And you can't enjoy your time on a first date. You really, I think it's so hard, or you can't enjoy driving the car for the first time. But you can if it's the 10th time and the 15th time and maybe the 30th time. So many people skip this step and then they live to regret it. And that's what we refer to as mocking. And you should set up just as many as you possibly can. Honestly, as many as you can before your actual event. It truly, truly, really works, honestly. So ask your friends, ask your neighbors, ask your parents, ask your classmates, reach out over Zoom to someone who intimidates you. Plan at least 5 of these. Why don't you start with a rule of 5? And after this is over, write down 5 people that you would do a mock for. And then go up to 20. I know someone who was auditioning for our orchestra, and they made this goal of doing 30 mocks in 30 days in the month leading up to the actual audition. And this person was very, very serious about it. And I'm not talking like informal mocks. They set up 30 formal mocks with little mock committees 30 times before the audition. And they completed their goal. And then on their audition day, they were so prepared and so comfortable and so confident that they told me it just felt like any other day, and they won that audition. When I first asked him, I'm like, how many mocks did you do before you did this? And he's like, 30 mocks in 30 days. And I was like, no, that's not right? And they're like, no, 30 mocks in 30 days. So it's truly worthwhile. It's an important step. Do not skip it. So are there any questions about the triathlon? Okay. There it is. That's your recipe for complete preparation and success. It's not rocket science, as they say. It's just, you just got to do it. You got to follow the steps. So now we have the extreme pleasure of welcoming Yu Yan to help us understand the ins of the system. And sorry you had to wait all this time, and now you're ready. And it must be cold. It's cold in there. Hello, how are you today?
How are you?
Good. Why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your orchestral audition experience?
So, hi, my name is Sharon, and I'm now the first year doctoral student at the University of Illinois. So I have a lot of orchestra audition, but most of them are for the school roster audition. We did a lot of mock in my undergrad at Oberlin, and also we do mocks every semester here at the University of Illinois. And also I did for the graduate school application, also the undergrad school application, that we have to play the excerpts in front of our professors. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, first let me acknowledge you for braving this inventory. It's always very interesting, and it's also really, really useful. So you have provided us with this terrific recording of 3 excerpts. First is going to be the exposition of the Mozart Concerto, and then the solo from Brahms 4, and then the fast middle solo from Beethoven's Leonore Overture number 3. So this is not like a typical masterclass where we listen and I give some feedback and recommendations, but it's you're helping us so much with an actual demonstration of how to use the in system. So we're gonna start off with the Mozart, and I'm going to pick in tune for this one. And so we are in the evaluation stage. So you've already recorded for your musical mirror, and you are ready to get to work. So what I'm gonna do is do a playback for you of your musical mirror. And let's see, let me make sure I get this right. So you are going to be listening for in tune. So you would have, and I know you weren't ready to have this ready, but what you will need, well, do you remember the tool you're going to need for in tune?
Like a metronome that we can use, and also drum tones.
Yeah, so for the in tune one, you're going to need your tuner.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm going to try to use this one. I'm going to set, what pitch do you play there? So it's always important when you're doing in tune that you've tuned and made your recording to try and match kind of the pitch, because everybody's pitch is a little different. Like in DSO we play 441, some orchestras play 440, some play on the 442. What pitch are you used to playing there at your school?
I think I did 442.
Okay, 440, that's really good to know, because it makes a huge difference when you're doing this playback. Okay, so I have now set mine, can y'all see mine? I'll set mine to 442, and I'm going to share your recording here. And share sound. Share. So you can see yourself on the screen, correct? Can you also see me in my tuner here? Okay, it's a little bit tricky to do this over Zoom, but hey, you know what? We're gonna do our best. So we're gonna listen to little snippets at a time. We're not gonna listen to this whole performance because obviously, like in Mozart, everything has to be really in tune. So we'll listen for a little bit and I'm gonna ask you to tell me what you discovered. And do you have your tuner up there too, next to your speaker? Put it next to your speaker and then tell us when I stop this, what did you find out? Because you're just evaluating. This is not judgment. Here we go. Okay, did you learn anything from that?
If I am correct, I think I'm overall sharper in the higher register.
Okay, so did you pick out just high on the D's every time you went above the G?
Yes.
Okay, and so you probably couldn't see, could you see anything on mine at all, you guys, when you were watching it? It's probably hard to do. Okay, so what I could see on mine is that your general pitch is higher than 442. Like your bass pitch it was about 443, edging up towards 444. So your tool is going to give you this information. So while you're there, go ahead and just play a couple warm-up notes for us. And then play, do you have your tuner handy too? Okay, and now play a G, the first G that starts this. And is that right in tune?
No, it's actually a bit flat. I think it's the flute itself is getting colder.
Okay, and now I want you to try the G, the D, and then the octave D. Just those three notes, because the data that you got back was that your pitch didn't quite match as you changed registers. So try those three. What's your tuner telling you?
D is sharp.
What? You can't play sharp. Remember that guy who yelled? Oh my gosh, who exploded? You can't, we don't want that reaction. Okay, so what you want is really in tune. I'm gonna put my tuner where I can see it. But actually you'll get so good at this that you can actually kind of hear it without even looking at your tuner. Try those three and really listen as you do them. You're right in tune now. Now try dum bum ba dum bum be bum. Yeah, can you hear that a little bit differently now than when you heard it on the recording? You already play at such a high level and your playing is so refined that all these little details are so important. Really important. Okay, another thing that I could see on my tuner is that on your C, because when you start playing the in-game, you start becoming, because you're only doing little parts at a time, you can be really, really specific. So when you got, it actually changed pitch on the C, on that note. So when you added the vibrato, it actually changed the core pitch. Can you just try that C?
No, may I interrupt for just a second, Sharon? I think, Yen, I think you might have to step back a little bit, maybe not as far as your stand. You can bring your stand a little closer now. I think you're just a little too close to the microphone because it's getting distorted. Thank you.
She may need to change her setting back to original on because sometimes that likes to change itself.
Yeah, I think you might, I think Sharon's right. It may have gone off.
Okay. So that time you were really listening that that C stayed stable, right? Instead of changed pitch on it. So let's listen back to the original recording. And these are subtle, very, very subtle details. So only you can pick. It's like if like you're looking in the mirror and you have a teeny tiny little speck in your teeth, and you really have to get up close and really examine and be like, oh yeah, that's what that was, and pull it out. This is the kind of evaluating that you're doing. Let's just listen to this once more. Could you hear it that time? Okay, so let's go on and we're going to listen to the next little phrase. So what, I know you're listening with your ears and you're like, I think it sounds in tune to me, but sometimes we really need that tool. We need the drone, we need the tuner to actually prove us right or to prove us wrong. So you would have that tuner up against your speaker, and what my tuner would show there is that your low D is a tiny bit flat, just a teeny tiny bit. So with your tuner on the stand, this is us strategizing together. You want to take that low G now and then compare it to the low D and compare it to the high D. Okay? Try that. Was I right? Was the bottom one's a little bit low, isn't it? Now that you're seeing it. Right? And now it's right on, right? Were you hearing that before?
No.
I know, that's the thing. That's why we need the musical mirror. It's like, I didn't see that thing in my teeth. I thought I was fine. Yeah, it's really, really important. So now try with the tuner on the stand, that section, the bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, bum, that one.
The very first or the second phrase?
It's the second phrase, the low one, where the low one starts. What did your tuner tell you back for the evaluation there?
You go sharp.
A little bit, yeah. Is that allowed?
For self-practice, maybe not.
No, you're already so polished. Oh my gosh. You're like the gymnast who's gonna lose that audition by 0.005 if you don't fix this one little detail right here. So yeah, so try that again with and now so play it right in tune. Easier said than done, right? Yeah, but such an important detail. Let's continue listening to this for more in tune. So grab your tuner and come up to this as close as you can to the speaker. And then I'll play a longer section and then tell me if you pick up anything. Anything?
So when I started vibrato, the pitch goes sharp, and when I starting to have like stronger dynamics, the pitch goes sharp as well.
You are correct. It was your tool that gave you that clue, right? And now your tool and your ears are working together because you're like, did you ever hear that before? I know, it's crazy, right? I catch myself doing the same thing with the vibrato sometimes. It changes my pitch, and I know that that's not going to be allowed. So now strategize how you're going to fix that in one spot and go try that for us. Any more discoveries?
I think maybe the landing notes is going sharp. Maybe I was like blowing too much. But the rest of the things I'm trying to control in the like a moderate pitch.
Right. Yeah, so now you've been given some data, and now you're smart and talented and creative. Now you're going to strategize how to fix that. And now your ears and your tools are working together to actually, close that gap so that you're going to be completely in tune when you take your audition for this. Does that all make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, we're going to use the Brahms next, but before we do that, I want you all to hear the rest of her recording of this Mozart exposition because it is so wonderful. I'm just going to play it for them. Yes, bravo. That's so lovely. The thing is that I get distracted by the fact that it is already so lovely that I don't do my inventory of the ins. And at this level or at any level, what you need to do is just get closer and closer to having perfect ins. If you have bought into the fact that in time, in tune, and intent is what the committee loves, and I can absolutely say it is, then you want to do that. And that's why you have to separate them out. Because when we're just listening, it sounds in tune, it sounds in time, it sounds lovely. But to make real progress on it, you'll need to separate it out like that. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, so now we're going to listen to the Brahms. And we're going to go back to our umbrella of intent. And I don't think I can share both things at once. But you remember the umbrella and all those fun things that were underneath it. And sometimes I even like to just pick and choose a couple things under the umbrella because there's so many raindrops under there, I can't fix them. I can't even listen for all of them at once. So under the umbrella of intent, I think what I'm going to pick for you is dynamics and the composer. So by that I mean, if this is on an orchestral audition, Brahms is really in a class all by himself because we don't have any other orchestral excerpt in this, genre with this kind of romantic feeling. So we have to really think about how we're going to play Brahms different from Mozart. And I'm going to use print, and I'm going to use breathing. So, and breathing wasn't even under that, but it should be under the umbrella for Brahms. So let's see. I never thought about how I can use 2 slides at once, which I really can't.
And Sharon, I just want to interject super quick. You've got about 10 minutes.
That's okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I think we're on time. Okay, so can you remind me what 4 things we're listening to?
So dynamics, breathing, and print. And what is the last one? Can you remind me?
Composer.
And composers. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so here we go, and let's. And when I do evaluation, I only do small parts at a time. Okay, dynamics. What is the printed dynamic there?
So it's starting with a piano and then hairpins. Eventually we approaching the high E with pianissimo and diminuendo.
Okay, let's ask the musical mirror. Is that what you heard?
I think I have the first half of the hairpins, but not like the second half of the hairpins. And also when I do the descending scales, it seems that I have a crescendo and then landing with like a softer note.
Is that what you want to do?
No.
I know, the musical mirror is so funny. Like what we think we're doing and what we wanted to do, it spits something back out at us. All right, and what I want you to try too is what you already told us is that there's a pianissimo. So that was not pianissimo. That's also called print, and so the committee will see that and think, why wasn't that so soft? You don't get much softer than pianissimo. Is such an opportunity. Will you play that for us? Now play the opening again. So your microphone's being a little wonky again, but I could tell that was pianissimo that time. And I could also hear your hairpins that time. Did that sound different to you?
Yes.
Seems like a teeny detail, but a very important one. You've already gained 1 more committee vote. Okay, now let's listen to a little bit of the solo. Oh, there's some weird noise on your microphone now. Talk to me. What do you hear?
So I was doing almost the same dynamics. Like couldn't really tell the really big difference with the hairpins and also like the vocal crescendo is too micro.
Agreed. How about breathing? Did you notice anything? Because yeah, we've got you listening for 4 things at once, which I tell you, it's kind of good to actually separate those out. But so yeah, breathing's going to be something too that the committee, especially with flutists, always has something to say about. So what did you notice about that?
I think for in this recording, my breathing seems a bit urgent. It just creating like after it feels like after my breath, it's some I tend to rush a little bit and pull back. So I'm not sure if that's the problem.
How about can you hear the breath in the recording? Let's listen again. Let me go back just a little bit.
I was like half the throat sound while breathing, and the breathing seems pretty loud.
Right, it almost made a percussive sound. I could hear it was like almost like somebody on like the suspended cymbal just going da 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 da. So obviously that's not something you want, but did you even hear that before?
No.
I bet that's something that just with the data you can play differently. Give it a try starting at the solo. Wow, what did you think?
I think to control my breathing better, and it also helps me playing in time and play more like delicate articulation.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can't change anything unless we can collect some data and then make the connection and then create a way. I mean, like, yeah, you're really good at fixing things right away, but sometimes it takes a lot of creativity to be like, darn, that breath really sounds loud. What the heck am I going to do about that? And still play in time. But the point is that you made the connection and you hear it and you can fix that. So that's fantastic. I want to play, I know we might run a few minutes over, but not a lot, because I want to play your Leonore, because I think that you give one of the best examples of in time that I've ever heard on this. So this is how we play the metronome game. So I've set my metronome for your Leonore to, now I have my thumb on the dial. This is such a fun game to play, by the way, if you have the matrix. And then what I'm going to do is try to catch you at the beginning and then see if I can just not wiggle this at all. I'm allowed one wiggle up and one wiggle down around my bass tempo, but if I have to go 2 or 2 this way, you are disqualified. So let's check your Leonore. You have to get through your Brahms first. You know, that she made that look easy. You guys, that is not easy to do. So, have you ever done your homework on that with the metronome game?
Yes, my professor asked me to do the 16th notes metronome practice.
Fantastic. It works. So that would have been your strategy for that. And that's when you're playing the in game and you check that and you're like, check. I've got my in time for this. So maybe I could check my in tune. Maybe I could check intent, which is my phrasing, my articulation. What should I really, what's the context? Who else am I playing with? All those things. And when you do that, and you do that so specifically, you're sure to get to the next round. There's no way that you can't. That was a lovely, lovely presentation. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that.
Can I interrupt, Sharon? That fabulous, Yen. It was just wonderful and terrific work, and same with Anne Marie. I wanted to just catch people before any people might have to leave right at 3:30, and then we can continue on for a few minutes afterwards, so I can do the giveaway of your book. So I have a bowl here with everybody's names that were registered for the event, and I'm going to turn away and pull it out. Okay, who do we have here? We have a Zachary Stiger or Steger. I think he's here. Can you unmute, Zachary? Are you here? Let me see. I thought I saw his name. I wonder if he just left. He was just oh, there he is. Zachary Stiger. I see your name there, but you have won Sharon's fabulous book, 6 Weeks to Finals. So Theodore Presser will be mailing that to you. Thank you, Sharon. I just wanted to get that out of the way before, and we can continue on now, but in case people had to leave right at 3:30.
Oh, congratulations, Zachary. And yeah, I'm not going to keep you all much longer. I just want to stay on in case anyone has any questions. Was there anything in the chat? Did y'all find it useful? Does the system make sense? Yeah, are there questions? Yana?
So this is amazing. Oh my goodness, I took so many notes. I cannot wait to buy your book. This is awesome. One question that we did have in the chat early on is, so you were talking about creating a useful warm-up that's applicable to what you're working on. How exactly do you do that? Like what kind of exercises are you doing?
That's my next class. No, actually, so I have two warm-ups. I have the conditioning one that covers, like, let's say fawn is on it. So I want to do something that covers the long breath and those intervals. And so I'll skeleton it out, and then I'll just create some kind of a warm-up that will solidify my breathing for that, and also the colors and the intonation for that. And then let's say I have this Leonore also on the same list. I'll create a warm-up of all sorts of arpeggios that kind of match that, but they'll go through a bunch of keys just so I get the idea of what those arpeggios are like. I don't know if any of you belong to Tone Base, but I did a video for them on auditioning, and I think through that you have access to some of my useful warm-ups that I actually printed out myself. So, but I encourage you not to use mine, but be creative for whatever you're working on. And you can also go to all the books on your shelf, your Moïse, your Tone Development, your Taffanel Gobert, and try and find in there what matches what you're currently working on. You'd be surprised. So much of that already does. And then excerpt that out and work on that. Any other questions?
I just wanted to say, in your book here, and actually, let me unpin so that we can all kind of be looking at each other now. If I can, I'll remove. Sorry, I didn't remove your pin yet. And if you want to go to gallery view, I think everybody can kind of see each other then, and Sharon can kind of see people. But this in the book, I thought there were a couple of things. There's so many things, Sharon. You could be doing 4 different classes on this, but I loved the one about the I respectfully decline. I love that it's a small paragraph in there, but it's so important from whether you're in grade school or high school or college or you're doing your professional auditions. You have to simplify your life for a while before these auditions so that you learn to say no to things and narrow it down. If you wanted to talk a minute about that or so. And I just that and your conditioning, oh, you know, the comparison with the conditioning of the champions at the like Wimbledon and US Open, and how even the champions, you know, keep up their conditioning.
Yeah, it's so funny. I just did a class on both those two things for Rob's inner circle group. Teaching people the art of saying no is a really that's because you're in training. So when you basically label what you're doing as in training, obviously there's not room to invite everything in. So you have to pick and choose, and just learning how to say no and feeling it's okay to say no. And I always say, like, no seems like such a negative word, but every time you say no to someone else, you're actually saying yes back to yourself. So if Beth says to me, hey, can I come have a lesson with you this week? And let's say my plate is already full and I know that, I've learned a way to respectfully say, oh, you know what? I'm gonna have to say no for this time. But in my mind, I'm saying, oh, you're saying yes to yourself. You're protecting your time. And so when no seems like a negative, it's actually saying yes to yourself. Because you can't do everything, and there's no way you're going to achieve all that you want to achieve for yourself. You have to say yes to your hopes, your dreams, your path. And a lot of times that involves how to say no to others. So it's important. It's a trick. I have emails. I have like a standard email that I keep on file, and every time I need to say no to something to say yes to me, I just go directly to that email and I tweak it for the situation and I send it out. And you might think of that in a time when you don't have to say no. Like, develop this email and feel that it's empowering, that you're saying yes to you. And then about conditioning. So conditioning is the time that I say that takes place before you're in training, before the 6 weeks. Because the 6 weeks is very involved. There's no time for conditioning. But if you're about to enter a performance arena or an audition arena, you better make sure that you're in the best shape that you can be. So even just playing a job, that's the mistake a lot of people make who have full-time orchestral jobs and they go to take an audition. They think, well, I play this job every week, so of course I'm in shape, I have to play. But you're not. Are you playing Carnival of the Animals every week? Are you playing something in the chair where it takes every ounce of conditioning that you can muster? Probably not. And so you want to make sure when you're about to enter an arena for that you are super conditioned for the event. So I hope that makes sense.
It does. Did you want to share with us? I know that you offer private coaching for this kind of preparation work and more details. Did you want to share with us how? There we go.
I will throw that up there. You can find me on the web, SharonSparrow.com. There's a link on my website to the Audition Advantage, which is my own personal audition training program, and is for all instrumentalists, not just flutists. And you can book a private session with me for getting help either on your piece or your excerpts, or you can book a mental training session with me, or you can book a mock feedback session, because in all my trainings, I truly believe it's a triathlon, and I'm not just coaching you on how to play the flute. I think you have to be really strong in all areas for success. Right now, I only have a couple times left from September to December. It goes straight to my calendar, and you can just book it on Calendly, and then tell me, about yourself. But the more times will open up starting in January. And then my orchestra, Detroit Symphony Orchestra, because I didn't get to do much playing today, but that's what I mainly do, is play all the time. And at dso.org, we do live webcasts of our classical concerts almost weekly. So you can see us all. There's very, very close-ups of everyone. You can study a lot. And they're also broadcasted on their Detroit Symphony Facebook page. So you can always check that out and see what I'm up to, watch our performances. So either of those websites.
Wonderful. You may want to, oh, sorry. That's all right. I was going to say the one page was covering up something, but I think it's just SharonSparrow.com, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, SharonSparrow.com.
Great. Gianna, would you like to?
Anything else?
Gianna, did you want to do the conclusion?
I think so. Oh my goodness, that was amazing, Sharon. I love you present everything in such a really fun, joyous, and clear manner. I love how practical, efficient, applicable everything is. Your analogies are so creative and they really stick in your head. I love it. This was amazing. I took some pages and pages of notes. I'm really excited to apply all of this to my plan and to my students, and I cannot wait to purchase your book. Thank you so much to our talented performers. We're so grateful to you for playing. And again, thank you so much, Sharon, for opening our 2004-2005 season with such joy and for sharing your boundless wisdom with us. We so appreciate you.
Oh, you're so welcome. The thank you goes back to you. You guys do such an incredible. You would not behind the scenes. You cannot believe how organized these ladies are, and you've created such an amazing space here for everyone to learn and to be together in a sense of community. So really, thanks to you, and thanks to the performers, and thanks to everybody who showed up here on their Sunday, gave their Sunday afternoon. To just hear this. It is my great wish that people's performances and auditions and competitions are a rewarding and enjoyable experience for them. And there's definitely a system to follow so that happens. So that is my great wish for all of you. And I'm so just thrilled to be able to be here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Enjoy your day, everyone. Bye.
All right, thanks. Bye.